Hello, fabulous friends, fans, and superstars. Welcome to your horoscope for the week of October 21st, 2018. I am your astrologer, Nadiya Shah. Thank you for being here. What an amazing week it is. We have a powerful sky, a sky that is promising change and a shift in priorities. There is also the sense that things could come up very much by surprise. We might have some mixed feelings at first, but we'll very quickly realize how life is working very much to our advantage. So a lot of this really comes down to the full moon. Right in the middle of the week, we have a full moon in the sign of Taurus. Now this full moon will be hand in hand with Uranus. That's the surprise quality I talked about. For some, it might even feel a little bit shocking. But at the same time, we have this particular full moon standing across the sky from Venus. So that is some of the mixed feelings, like, okay, things are changing. I can see how maybe this could be a good thing. I can see how this is a reality check or another perspective that I could use right now, but I'm not really sure how I feel about it, or maybe things could go in a different way that I don't like. That may be some of the fear that arises. But then Saturn kicks in. And Saturn speaks to this full moon in supreme harmony. This is energy I'm very excited about because I do feel like Uranus and Saturn together, when they speak in supreme harmony, as they have been all summer, it represents a time of breakthroughs that bring lasting results. And these two planets together are just luck, really, is what it comes down to. Leaping into a more prosperous, more solid, more liberating future where we're able to live more authentically and actually allow it to change our lives, living from a space of truth within us. That is part of the promise of this full moon. Wherever it is that it feels like things are changing fast, things are moving at a rate that doesn't necessarily feel comfortable at first, is exactly the area where we are set to feel a sense of stability and blessings just a few moments later. Now, by moments, I don't necessarily mean in the same breath or in the same 10-minute cycle, but it is going to be, as we look at it, and especially over the course of the week and as we get to the end of the week, is when some of the benefits of what is happening now start to set in. With this full moon happening in the sign of Taurus, chances are we will be looking at things like self-value or self-worth. We'll be considering the possessions that we have and the true value of them, the value they have and the value they don't or they no longer do. And with Venus in the sign of Scorpio, retrograde no less in the sign of Scorpio, it is helping us, and we are as a collective getting to a place of understanding more deeply what really matters and moving beyond what may appear on the surface to just be superficial. What I'm really excited about though here is that as we go through these personal lessons, we find tangible ways to improve our lives. We find ways to take what otherwise would just be an epiphany, what otherwise would just be a moment of realization, and actually understand how it is that this can propel us forward. It can help us to manifest more of what it is that really matters to us. Not what it is that seems attractive on a surface, but rather having come to some more deeper truth about what truly is beautiful for us, what is truly worth having for us and in our own lives, we're able to then take that understanding and take that knowledge and apply it immediately towards manifesting a life that feels like one that aligns us with a higher ambition, a higher realization, and authentic self-respect. That is part of the higher understanding and the great gift of Saturn. Every planet out there has a manifestation that can be considered or communicated as a lower vibration. And every planet has what can be understood as a higher vibration. And so a lower vibration of Saturn has to do with being controlling, being bossy for no reason. It has to do with acting like you need to rule other people because you don't feel like you have control over yourself. And that's not a fun person to be around. That's not a healthy person to be around. However, the higher understanding of Saturn has to do with honoring the physical realm. And it has to do in many ways with acceptance and surrender. It is about knowing that there are limits to what it is that we can do, but we're going to do our best. We're going to have faith, and we're going to show that faith in our actions. And then we're going to turn it over and trust that it's going to count for something in the bigger picture of our lives. And Saturn is also wisdom. Every planet has its inherent wisdom, but one of the higher understandings of Saturn has to do with the wisdom that we gain when we make a promise to ourselves and we see it through. That is how genuine self-respect is won. It's not necessarily, manifesting is great, right? It's not necessarily about achieving some big thing that we thought we wanted, but maybe we didn't really, or maybe we wanted it for reasons that weren't really rooted in our truth. It was someone else's truth that we were living for a while. And if we're lucky, we realize that that's what we're doing and we're able to correct course. But it has to do with an understanding of just following the path, just trusting the path, just taking a step is enough to fortify a sense of self-respect. And I think that that is part of the great blessing now of this full moon. Of course, it is the sign of Taurus, which is why I'm emphasizing things like, what it is that we value and what our possessions are. But the sign of Taurus also has to do with money. And chances are there are going to be surprises for us as a collective around money. Now, again, there's stability there, so no need to get too worried about it. But there may be something that we are talking about as a collective where we are collectively coming to an understanding of what things are really worth and what is it that really matters, and putting financial elements and prospects and the part of life that has to do with addressing money, which is part of the world that we've created, just keeping it in its right place. It's not about denying it. It's not about making it bad. It's not about worshiping it. It's not about making it great. It's more about just understanding that this is part of the world we've created. It's part of the illusion. And part of the illusion means that this is something that we can use to learn about ourselves spiritually. And that is our relationship to it, our understanding of it, our emotions behind money is what it is that can serve as a spiritual catalyst to help us to understand ourselves better. And so it is with so much of life, and so it is really with Saturn, because Saturn asks us to consider where it is that we have placed too much emphasis on something that maybe is not as solid, and where it is that we deserve to place more emphasis on areas that can be made stronger and more stable and secure. And to understand that ultimately our highest sense of security comes from ourselves. It comes from knowing ourselves and knowing that there is something within us that we can trust to see us through just about any moment and just about any situation. Also, early this week, we have a buildup of planets starting in the sign of Scorpio. Now, this buildup has been already going on. We've got Venus retrograde in the sign of Scorpio. And we have, as of more recently, Mercury having had moved into the sign of Scorpio. Now, Mercury this week, early in the week, will reach out and speak in harmony with Pluto. I love this energy. If you remember last week, it was Mercury that was very active in the sky, reaching out to all kinds of power players. Well, it is going to be this week that starts to wrap up some of that energy of a heightened mercurial energy in the air. And Mercury speaking with Pluto allows us to make connections, to have communications that lend themselves to meaningful change, that lend themselves to a sense of knowing where it is and how it is we can get to the core of a situation and transform that situation from the inside out, and where we're able to understand the deeper dynamics playing out. And this ultimately is the key to being truly influential in the lives of others around us and in our own lives as well. In fact, it is when Mercury speaks this way to Pluto that we understand a well-timed email, a phone call, or even just trusting that we can find ourselves in the right situation, that we will know what it is that needs to be said so that things can go in a way that we deem encouraging and positive and good. The sun is going to move into the sign of Scorpio this week, so happy birthday to all the Scorpios out there as you begin your birthday month right away. It is going to be the sun that stands across the sky from Uranus. Now this is powerful, this is illuminating, and this is setting the stage for the full moon that comes right after it. And so do be open to the fact that awarenesses, alliances, interactions, they have a certain shock factor to them. And given that we are in a Venus retrograde season, part of these alliances or these surprise meetings may very well happen with people that we've been connected to in the past, especially on a heart level. Now, the great thing is, under the light of that full moon, Venus will also speak in harmony with Saturn. If you remember, a month ago was when I told you that Venus and Saturn are going to be part of an ongoing dance that is going to be part of what defines this Venus retrograde season. One of the other conversations is Venus and Uranus. Now, that conversation is going to reach its second exact moment next week, and I'll talk about it then. But for now, it is Venus that is connecting with Saturn. And as we get to the end of the week, we'll meet the sun in the sky. I feel as I look at this that no matter what it is that comes up, whatever shocks and surprises and realizations and, oh goodness, is it really you? It's you, running into people that we're not really sure we want to be running into. It is going to be Saturn that allows us to behave from a place that allows us to feel good about ourselves. It is coming from a place of self-respect in all our interactions and allowing us to behave in a way where we know we kept what matters in perspective. And we were able to stay grounded regardless of what it was that was happening around us or who it was that popped up in front of us. And so it was back in the middle of September that Venus had its first connection with Saturn as part of the larger Venus retrograde season. And this is the second. The third is going to take place towards the end of the Venus retrograde season once we get towards the end of the year. And I'll be here to talk about it every step of the way. But the thing to keep in mind is that whatever is happening now, it will in some way hearken to, remind you of, be reminiscent of what took place in the middle of September. And so for some people, it's going to be someone that they connected to, and maybe it was kind of a non-event. That person may pop up right about now. For some others, it may be that if you connected with somebody back then, this is where you realize certain things about them. You see them a little bit more deeply. This can also be when, if a month ago you were invited to something, well, this is where the event may actually transpire. And so in some way, there's a progression taking place, and there is a connection that is happening now with the events now and what took place in the middle of September, as will be the case as we move towards the later part of the year. If you are in an established bond, well, this is going to be part of an ongoing conversation that very likely has been there at least for a month and is going to be something that is continued to be discussed in the weeks and the months really ahead, but not too many months ahead. What I love about this week for us is that there's a real sense now of clarity. And that clarity, in part, is about Uranus, Uranian clarity. There's nothing quite like it because it's filled with revelation and realization and epiphany, and it holds the seeds of a great catalyst to take place. Because once we are made aware, we can't go back to the place of unawareness. Once we know what's really going on within us or within a particular situation, there's no hiding under a rock. There's no denying it to ourselves anymore. And chances are all of us in at least one area of life are going to be looking at some truth that may not necessarily feel comfortable at first, but thanks to Saturn it will lend itself to positive grounding and a sense of stability. Stability is ultimately in the heart, it is in the spirit, and so whatever it is that may seem very changeable in your life, surrender to it, knowing that you have an inner calm, you have an inner strength, and that strength will ensure that you see the great opportunity, the great blessing, and the great luck that is being promised and delivered now. Well, thank you so much for watching. I'm truly so grateful for it. What do you love about this week? What are you excited about? Please let me know in the comments below. I absolutely love reading you guys, and I'm looking forward to having that continued conversation. If you want to find out what all this wonderful stuff this week means for you and your sign, you can log on to nadiyashah.com. Sign up to be one of my superstars. Superstars get expanded, exclusive video scopes each and every week, unlimited access to special horoscopes, and so much more. All of this in the superstar space. I look forward to meeting you there. Synchronicity University is going along, and we've got one more week left. You can still catch the replay, get the downloads of the first 3 classes that I taught as part of the autumn session. And we've got just one more class to go next week. And next week's live class is going to be astrological signatures of long-term love. And so that's going to be a lot of fun to teach as well. It's been a great group. Really grateful for the people who's attended live online, who watched the replay and then gave feedback, or even the people who end up downloading it afterwards. I hope that you have enjoyed every single class, and I love teaching them. But next weekend, I'm also going to be part of Astrology University, a huge summit that they're doing online. It's free to attend, and it's all about astrology and destiny. And so there is so much going on that whole weekend. Next weekend, I will be visiting my parents, so the background is going to look a little bit different. But while I'm at my parents' house, having mom's home cooking and dad's chicken, whatever, and enjoying my time with my parents, I am also going to be online, and online all weekend for the Astrology University Summit on Astrology and Destiny. Really big dog astrologers are going to be part of this event, renowned world astrologers, and I'm just so excited and so privileged to have been asked to be a co-host at this event. And I think that we're going to have a lot of fun together, and we're going to learn together and get a chance to learn from really living legends in our field. So check out the link below and click on that link, and you can sign up and register right away. If you are on my Facebook page, you know that earlier this week we wrapped up a giveaway, and that was a whole lot of fun. And so sometimes I do that, like there's different spaces. I'm very active mainly on Instagram and on Facebook. And so in those different spaces, sometimes I do little giveaways and things. And so yes, there was a giveaway of an amazing book called Seeing Energy by Rhonda Moffat. And Rhonda actually reached out to me, and she gifted me her book, and I really enjoyed it. And so I reached out to her and said, hey, I really like your book. Thank you so much for sending this to me as a gift. And she said, can I send you a hard copy? And I was like, look, I'm very mobile, right? I am very nomadic. I like to move around. So for me, ebooks are the way to go. It just makes it a lot easier to have things to read when they're always with me, like in my phone or in my iPad. But then I said to her, like, would you like to give one of your books away and make sure it is sent out to one of my friends and fans? And she was very excited about that. And so please do check out that book. There was a winner already announced on Facebook, and that person has already been contacted. And so I hope that they absolutely enjoy the book, but you can still check it out online and on Amazon. And again, I hope that you love it. Her energy has just been really nice and really loving towards me, and I appreciate that so much. If you are doing something that is part of putting love and wisdom in the world, please be sure to reach out to me. Use the contact form on my website, and I'm very happy to give people shout outs on Facebook and my newsletter. It's always a lot of fun to in some way give back. I absolutely love doing it. So yes, feel free. Use the contact form, reach out. And I'm very happy to share friends and fans who bring so much love and positive energy into my life. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. I'm truly hoping, as I look at the sky, that we are able to navigate it. We certainly will. We do navigate Uranian energy. Now, one thing I should say that I forgot to say last week was Mars officially ended shadow. So now Mars is full steam ahead. We are no longer in the Mars retrograde season. However, it may not feel like that because Venus is retrograde. And Venus is retrograde in a Mars-ruled sign because the ancient ruling planet of Scorpio is Mars. And so for a lot of people, whereas in many ways with Mars no longer being in shadow, Mars retrograde season being over, it should be full steam ahead, focus, drive, and energy. But because of that Venus retro connection, it doesn't feel like it just yet. Embrace these retrogrades that are with us now, knowing that the retrogrades ultimately are going to be part of a very important reflection and reconsideration. It is going to be next year that we do not have these major Venus and Mars retrogrades taking place. It's going to be a year that is a lot more future focused and it has a lot more of an optimistic energy to it. I'm really excited to talk to you about it, as I will in the weeks and months ahead here on YouTube, in the monthly horoscopes and special horoscopes, in the superstar space, and so much more. Thank you again for being here. I'm so grateful for it. It'll be a great week. Enjoy.